In this lesson, we'll be talking about application layer firewalls. Application layer firewalls sound like kind of a big concept, and yet it's pretty common to see application layer firewalls in a business situation, although you may not necessarily think of what you're doing as an application layer firewall. Basically, an application firewall is something that's capable of understanding the application protocol and making determinations about what to do based on the protocol commands that are coming through. A basic application firewall, and one that's pretty common to see, is a proxy server. I've actually got one right here, or this is the configuration for a proxy server. I've got the proxy server Squid, and this runs on Linux. And you can see the different sorts of things that we can configure inside the proxy server. For example, I could do some rate limiting with the proxy server. I can make sure that we're using particular protocols. I can block based on different types of websites. That's one thing a proxy server is pretty good for, is being able to make sure that the users of the proxy server are going to websites that are actually approved or acceptable. So this would be a good thing, for example, to use in a school. You're protecting the students from being able to either accidentally or on purpose go to things like porn or gambling sites, as an example. And of course, you could do the same thing in a business situation. You can keep people from parking themselves on ESPN, for example, and just reading sports news all day long. Proxy servers are good for that. You can also use a proxy server to do things like check for malware as the connection is running through the proxy server. So you can do a lot of different things with a proxy server, and configuring a proxy server is actually pretty simple. Just as an example, I'm going to go to the preferences under Firefox. And the reason I'm using Firefox instead of a different browser, it's a little bit easier to see under Firefox because Chrome and Safari use some default network settings. And in this case, I'm doing it right inside the browser, and I can actually make it very clear what we're doing. So if I go to Advanced, then Network, I go to Settings. You can see I've got the ability to do no proxy, or I can do a manual proxy configuration. So in this case, I actually had a proxy server set up on my local system, which is what this is. What the browser is actually going to do is it's going to make a connection to port 8080 on my local system. Then that proxy server will forward the request on behalf of me and my browser. And the request will come back through the proxy server, which is how we can do things like filtering. And with proxy servers, you can also do caching. And so it helps actually speed up your web browsing on your network. So we've got a Cisco ASA as another example here. It will do application layer protocol inspection, and that gives us the ability to do things like protect our mail servers from malformed network requests, or protect our web servers from malformed HTTP requests. We've got another example here of a device that is an application layer firewall. Specifically, Blue Coat actually makes proxy servers that are pretty commonly used, and they do these proxy servers that have functionality so you can protect your systems from malware and also do the site blocking and all of the other things that help protect your enterprise environment. So application layer firewalls come in a lot of different types based on the application. Another application layer firewall is for voice over IP, and it's called a session border controller. There's a company called Acme Packet, and they make session border controllers, and they have the capability of doing a lot of different things based on the application. So they can do rate limiting, for example. They can do bandwidth policing to make sure that you're not using too much bandwidth based on the codec that you're using. Acme Packet makes another type of application layer firewall. In this case, it happens to use VoIP protocols instead of just a web protocol or a more common protocol that you would see on a more regular basis. Acme Packet makes VoIP application layer gateways. So there are several different types of application layer firewalls. We've got proxy servers, we've got session border controllers, we've got things like the Cisco ASA that just do standard kind of protocol fix-up in denying malformed packets to come through. But at the end of the day, what they really are is application layer firewalls. And again, they're specific to the particular application protocol that's in use.